This video is about customizing an existing workflow. To demonstrate this, I picked the workflow that supports the onboarding of new employees. This means creating the account in Active Directory and Azure Active Directory, creating file share access, creating a mailbox, etc. Let's take a look at this process. We take the role of Maria Miller. Maria is working in the marketing department. Maria will soon have a new colleague. She is given the task to care for this onboarding. Thus, Maria uses the self-service portal, and within the self-service portal, the service new employee from the catalog. So she goes to the catalog, she goes to services, and therein she finds finally new employee. She adds this service to her cart, and now she's asked to enter the first name, last name, job title, and possibly more attributes of the new colleague. So let's go. We choose Fort Prefect. His job title will be Social Media Marketing. The organizational unit will be Marketing. Cost centers OK, Marketing America, location New York. He will have access to the department drive, but no access to Microsoft 365. So we add it to the cart. We get an overview, new employee, cost $20, one-off. Cost centers correct, delivery to the recipient, which is Maria Miller, that's OK, and we are placing the order. Now Maria gets information on the progress. At first there's a short summary, the order ID 171, status is pending, and the delivery recipient is herself. That's fine. And below we find the progress. Using this little square, I enlarge this view a little bit and I reload it. By reloading, I got this little eye, which tells me that there's an additional information. And the additional information is that this decision is pending at Frank Fisher or Frank Fryer. That's fine. In order to drive this process forwardly, we log in as Frank Fryer. And Frank Fryer will approve this order. Here we are Frank Fryer. Frank Fryer goes to the self-service portal, goes to the section Decide, and there he can see that his decision about a new employee is required. You see the order number 171 as Maria got it. He clicks on it. He can see the details. It's about Fort Prefect. Yes, he is aware of this. He wants to decide. He sees the cost, that's okay. And now he approves the booking. Okay. Back to Maria Meyer. Maria Miller reloads her view. And she sees that almost everything is already done. The order was placed, the approval is given, and the information tells us now that Frank Fryer has approved this order, and it's already provisioned. That's already done, and the process is waiting for the acceptance of Maria. Let's see this from the perspective of Maria and her email. Maria Miller, here we are, inbox. Here's a relevant email, onboarding for Port Prefect successfully completed. Dear Mariah Miller, we have successfully completed the onboarding process for your new team member for Prefect. Please forward the credentials from below, including one-time password as part of the welcome process. We have the account name, we have the one-time password for the first login, and we have the mail address. That's fine. Everything seems to be done perfectly. Now we want to customize this workflow. In addition to the account creation, to the file access, and to the mailbox, we want the facility management to provide an access card for the new colleague, and we want the facility management to bring it to Mariah. So we need to customize our workflow, and in order to do so, we have to take the role of an administrator. This administrator is now Viktor Vogel. As a first step, Viktor goes to the service catalog. And within the service catalog to the service portfolio, here we see the list of all services that may appear in the service catalog. And we are looking for the article new employee. We see that this article is present twice. The latter one is retired, so it's no more in use, and the first one is operational. This is the one that we want to change. We click it twice and we get into the dialog. We get general information such as the name of the article, service type, the status, and something more. Below we find the approval workflow. Such order has to be approved by the coast manager, which in our case was Frank Fryer. That's fine. We do not want to change this, but we want to change the provisioning. Here we want to add the provisioning of an access card. And here in the tab provisioning, we find the provisioning workflow. It's called create new user. That's easy. And this is the thing that we want to change. In order to change this workflow, we need to go to the Workflow Studio. So let's duplicate our tab in the browser. Let's go to the application administration. Let's go to services and processes and here to Workflow Studio. Here we find the possible quick starts, and the first one of them leads us to the Workflow Studio. Here we are, that's the Workflow Studio. And we are happy, we are lucky, we find the workflow we want directly at the top of the list of recent workflows. If this wasn't the case, then we can open it the normal way. We go to open, we find the list of existing workflows ordered alphabetically, and scrolling down we may find create new user. If the list is too long for our taste, we can even enter create in the little field on the upper right, and here we find create new user. We click it, we open it, there it is. We immediately see that it's a non-trivial workflow, and we have some activities related with it. After start, the workflows begins with get order data. This is a very usual step in the beginning because we need the data from the order. We need something like a service booking ID. The service booking ID is a unique number for that booking, and with this booking ID we can retrieve every information that is related to this service. Now see things like delivery address, city, delivery location, You see the requester's name, such things. In the second activity, we are looking for the booking. And here we find things like, let's enlarge this a little bit. The name of the service that had been booked, the ID of the owner of the service, the ID of the consumer, and last but not least, the consumer's first name and last name. Could be important. And, in fact, will be important later on. You remember that Maria has filled a form in order to tell to the system what is the first name, the last name of the user of the new colleague in question, and this form is used here, and we are taking data from the form and we are putting it in variables like first name, last name, which is first name and last name of our new colleague. We find something like the home drive, we find the office location name, we find the organizational unit of the new colleague, and further information that is relevant for the creation of the account. The last preparatory step is getting data for Azure Active Directory. And here we find things like the Azure Active Directory domain name, the tenant ID, application ID, and of course the certificate subject. Everything that is needed to get access to Azure Active Directory and to make the necessary changes there. Our workflow is multi-purpose. You can use it for installing a new user or for uninstalling a new user. Both is possible. In our case, it is up to install. We want to create a new user, so our next step is AD and AAD, which stands for Active Directory and Azure Active Directory. And this is a script that is executed. We're talking about a script, and we have to hand over some parameters to the script in order to work correctly. You see things like the Azure Active Directory domain name, the tenant ID, the certificate subject, first name, last name, and many things more that we need in order to create the new account correctly. Here the account is created within Matrix, and the person is created. Let me tell one more word about this step with the script. I want to show you the script. You can see the script by opening here with a little square with the 3 dots. And you see that at first the parameters that have been given are used. So they are known to the script. There's a read process for the certificate. The other Azure connectivity is checked. Here we are creating some random password. As you might guess, there is some password policy behind. If you have your own password policy, you may implement it exactly here. We find an LDAP path. We create a name of the user, very easy. The display name of the user is the first name plus the last name, separated by 1 space. We are creating an account name. We are replacing German Umlaute as usual. And something more that you might check on your own. You see, with Matrix 42 workflows, you are even able to use Microsoft PowerShell scripts in order to unfold the full power of these workflows. Back to the workflow, we created an account in Matrix 42, we created the person. Now we set the account state and we set the person's state. And here's the step where the email is sent to the requester, which in our case was Maria Miller. And this is the position where we want to add the creation of an access card. So here we want to change the workflow, At first we need to check it out, because else the workflow is protected against any change. Now it is checked out, and we need some more space here. So it's enough to track it down, this send email box. And now we will add a new activity. We will add a new activity which is called create task. Here it is. And the task will be that facility management is to create the access card for the new colleague. That's the link to this new activity. Not this way. Okay. We'll change it afterwards. Let's try to bring it here. That's fine. Okay. We have something to fill, some properties. At first we need the category of the task. The category is service catalog in our case. The category decides in which application the task will be found later on in real life. For us it's service catalog. We need a description. We need a description to ensure that facility management knows what to do. So we write, dear colleagues from facility management, please create an access card for, and now we enter some variables. You remember, first name, space, last name. It's as easy as that. And bring it to, remember it has been Mariah Miller, but the requester could be something else. And we find the name of the requester here, consumer first name, space, consumer last name. Dot, thanks and regards, IT. That's it. If you want more text, if you want additional information, no problem, enter it exactly in this description of the task. Okay. We need something more. If now we connected this create task directly to send email, the task would be created and the email would be sent. That's not what we want, because the emails should not be sent before the task is fulfilled. So we need something like waiting, and such activity exists indeed. It is called wait for activity. Here it is. You see in both activities there's still a red circle which indicates that there's still something missing. In create task is obviously the summary missing. That's not okay. We add a summary. Please create access card for first name, last name, space, last name. Okay. You see this red circle already disappears. The summary is something like the subject in an email. It appears as a title in the list of all tasks. And we need some output, because this step, wait for activity, needs to know what he has to wait for. So we need the output, the ID of the created task. And let's create a new variable. Create access card task ID. The ID of the task for creating an access card. Now this variable has been created, and this output will be filled in the moment when the task is created, because then the ID of the task is known. And now in the wait for activity, we take this task ID as an input. So it is clear for the machine for which task it has to wait. It is a task with the ID that has been given here. That's fine. Now we need the last link to send email, and we are done. We added 2 activities, one activity for creating a task. Maybe we have forgotten to say who is responsible for doing the task, and that's indeed true. We need to enter the responsible role, and the responsible role is facility management. Here we are. That's fine. Okay. Now, it's always the same 4 steps. It's safe. It's more or less clear what it does. Then validate. With validating, we verify that our workflow is formally correct. And we get a green message, has been validated successfully, that's fine. Now it's check in. Checking in protects this workflow against accidental changes. And as a last step, we release it. And the version number is automatically augmented. Release. Please remember these 4 steps: save, validate, check in, release. Now that the workflow has been changed, we can try whether it's working. So we take again the role of Mariah Miller. We use the service new employee and add it to our cart. Again, we need to enter the attributes of the new colleague in question. Stafford Bibelbrox in that case. Again, some social media marketing colleague. Organizational unit is marketing again. Cost center is okay, Marketing America, location New York, access to department drive is okay, no access to Microsoft 365. Add to cart. We get the overview and we get the recipient information, which is all fine, and we are placing the order. Now, same procedure as you already know it. The thing is pending for approval, and the approval has to be given by Frank Fisher or Frank Fryer, as you know. We enter the self-service portal as Frank Fryer. We are hitting our decide button, and we see we have a new employee pending with the order number 172. This one was a Ford Prefect. Now we are dealing with Stafford Bibelbrox. Frank Fryer doesn't know it yet, but now he sees it's Mariah Miller who has ordered something. And here with this little symbol, we find the details, Stafford Bibelbrox, and the other attributes. Okay, we want to decide. We are fine with that order and we are approving this booking. So everything is done for Frank Fryer. We can close this. We get back to Mariah Miller. We are reloading this view and we see the approval has been granted by Frank Fryer. That's fine, but the provisioning is pending. And yes, we know that. Now there's a task at facility management and the whole workflow is waiting for this task to be accomplished. So in order to drive things forward, we need to take the role of facility management. We do that with the name of Victor Vogel. We are going to the service catalog. We already are there, that's fine. And under collaboration, we find tasks. Here's already the task. Please create access card for Cepheid Bibelblox. You see that the name of the new colleague already has been entered successfully into the summary. Please create access card for Cepheid Bibelblox, and the description we created. Dear colleagues from FM, please create an access card for Cepheid Bibelblox and bring it to Mariah Miller. Thanks and regards, IT. Great. We are taking over that task. And let's assume that we now have created that task. And now we want to close it. We make a solution. Access card for Cepheid Bibelblox created and brought to Mariah Miller. That's our solution for the task, and the task is closed successfully. That's important for the workflow. Close, and we are done. The task is closed, as expected. What does it mean for Mariah Miller? Let's reload the view, and we see the order has been provisioned and the process is waiting for acceptance by Mariah. So let's take a look at her email again. We find the email onboarding for Cepheid Bibelblox successfully completed. And yes, dear Mariah Miller, we have successfully completed the onboarding process for your new team member Cepheid Bibelblox. Please forward the credentials below, including one-time password, as part of the welcome process. And we find the account name, we find the one-time password, and we find the email address. So the customized workflow was successful, and the onboarding process is extended by creating an access card by facility management. Should you have further questions related to workflows, I may tell you the site help.matrix42.com, and here you find the subject Digital Workspace Platform. Here you find the Workflow Studio, and here you find a lot of explanations about everything related to the Workflow Studio, explanations to the file menu in detail, explanations to the editor, then a description of the delivered activities, the small boxes, you remember what they do and what they require. You see an explanation how you can use the tracking mode. The tracking mode allows you to debug your workflows, and you see a lot of things related to the management of workflows.